A transactional market with no user reviews doesn't sell income. Hi, my name is Sarah Trumbull. I'm the founder and CEO of the Job Applicant Perspective, the first anonymous user reviews for job ads across the U.S. This level of go-to-market awareness, as well as public service for the gaslighting. Coming from my latest blog post, it comes on Substack in written form once or twice a week, and I'm doing this in video format. Also, I put this on my socials, just to meet people where they are, do this on podcast format to video and audio. So, starting from the top, a transactional market with no, the insight. In any transactional market, reviews are not decoration. They're signal discipline. Hotels have reviews. Rideshare drivers have reviews. Restaurants have reviews. Markets that sell outcomes require feedback to validate performance. So what do you call a market that controls access to income, claims to sell employment, and has no mechanism for user feedback? Not inefficient by accident, inefficient by design. A market with no user reviews isn't selling outcomes. It's selling engagement, churn, and time extraction disguised as opportunity. Who this is for? Job seekers who suspect they're doing everything right in a system designed to waste their time. Employers frustrated by talent shortages that magically vanish when hiring is humane and real. Economists, policymakers, and platform leaders who understand that markets without feedback rot. Anyone who has ever wondered why a market that talks about efficiency keeps producing inefficiency. 2 frames to make this uncomfortable. If job seekers are stakeholders, you need reviews to ensure stakeholder human needs are met. If job seekers are a product of the labor market, you need reviews to ensure the product reaches customers efficiently. Either way, no reviews equals no accountability equals lack of functionality, guaranteed. It becomes a market that neither meets human needs nor delivers the product efficiently. This is not a labor market. It is a monetized attention machine wearing the skin of a labor market. It is identity and status for employers and the employed being presented as a matching market. In a very, very real way, not meeting human needs and delivering inefficiency is the product employers purchase. The dehumanization of the U.S. citizenry is the unintentional impact of that purchase. Wait, what? No comic book villains required. Given the scope of what's broken here, I want to ground us. Intent and impact are not the same thing. Are people sometimes villainous? Of course. But I'm perfectly capable of hitting you with my car on my way to get ice cream. No intent to harm required. This didn't require conspiracy. It required platforms optimizing for engagement, following the narrative as employers told them to meet, and having zero financial incentive to care about the job seeker experience. They intended to build this. And for employers and for public perception, they did. But algorithmic individualization means employers and job seekers see entirely different markets. It's not the newspaper. We're all looking at the same paper, The industry built hiring the way employers saw themselves, as needing filters, not needing matchmakers. I've said it before, hiring went online the way employers saw themselves, not the way the market actually functioned. They didn't do it the way the newspaper did. The newspaper didn't do SaaS postings and they didn't do free postings for a reason, because they cared about signal clarity. Online platforms don't. It's just a wasteland of nonsense data drift. It's even hard to say how bad it is because it relies on itself being bad. Job seekers became the traffic engagement metrics data, not stakeholders. So for job seeker, the market looks like this. What employers and what economists should notice and why it won't self-correct. This is Akerloft's lemon market applied to labor markets. High quality employers and real jobs cannot signal themselves. Low quality employers and fake jobs face no penalty. Job seekers have no opt out and no trusted signal layer. Opacity produces adverse selection. Adverse selection erodes trust. Eroded trust collapses markets. This is market failure 101, not metaphor, mechanism. The problem is self-sealing. Each group's experience reinforces the narrative that protects them from seeing the dysfunction. The public watches job seekers struggle and sees confirmation that younger generations lack grit. The energy of kids these days, translated through untrustworthy job seeker narrative, which is a given. The system's failures look like reinforcement of their original understanding around individual failures. Employers see a functional tool. The ATS filters resumes. The talent pool feels deep. Resume spam validates the need for more filtering. They experience convenience, not breakdown. Job seekers start with a vision of the first picture in their head and experience something entirely different, but their complaints read as sour grapes to everyone else. They genuinely, because we've all been trained what professionalism is, cannot in their minds take the category of job seekers being human users of the market with user experience needs required to be met in order for the market to function. It doesn't exist because we've trained an entire generation of people to not do that. So, sorry to start there. Here's what gets missed. When job seeker time has no value in the system will always devolve into rent seeking. It just will. Wasting job applicant hours is wasting employer money. It just doesn't show up on their dashboard, which has been strategically designed to show everything but the job seeker user experience. This is a one-sided, two-sided market. And the people operating it don't have the capacity to see that. Like they generally are in the system, which is Bonhoeffer's collapse of perspectives. Ghost jobs, scam postings, and engagement farming, this is what you need to realize, aren't edge cases. They're what markets without accountability produce. When hiring went online, misleading the labor force that powers it unpaid, its revenue became profitability. A talent firm not misleading the labor force, even with the lack of care, would be the exception, not the rule. When the financial incentives are so misaligned, there is, even when you have like the best of morals, there's going to be an intrinsic lack of care. That's how this works at this global scale. It will less attention to detail. I'm not saying people can't be doing it. I'm saying incentives-wise, it would very much be the exception for someone to not actively mistreat the labor force or actively create harm for the labor force in this labor market. Introducing the job applicant perspective. We're building the missing trust layer in online hiring. Anonymous user reviews of job ads across the US. Not revenge, not rage posting, not chaos. Signal, insight, correction. A way for job seekers to protect each other and employers who operate in good faith to stand out. It's not about burning bad actors. It's about highlighting good ones. Same thing happened when eBay got a reputation system in 90. They got in 2000. Uber did the same. Massive value created in the markets when they do that. Massive value. There's a reason every other online system has a reputation system, because it's adaptive market cleanliness, market health. A system has to be permeable to insight in order to adapt and learn. This one is structurally impervious to half its stakeholders and 95% of its users. It absolutely is not in good shape. A way for jobs. User reviews for job ads are not radical. They're how markets work when users can opt out. I mean, I feel like that's saying there, this is how markets work when users can opt out. And I really think we need to sit and think about what we've done building a supermarket that hides the food kind of thing. But yeah, the level of economic betrayal of the labor force that is involved in this type of market is historic. That this comes from the outside, not the platforms, should tell you how profitable ignorance has been. And if it's been profitable, how much it's cost the labor force and the economy that depends on it. Just because you can't see termites in the foundation because you've told yourself you're not the type of person that sits in foundations, doesn't mean the entire foundation isn't utterly rotted. Check the research. Akerlof, I put some here for Akerlof, Lauren Rahman, Resnick and Zeckhauser. It's time hiring lived up to the economic theory it claims to respect. In summary, whether you consider Uber, Airbnb, Yelp, Hotels.com, or more, bidirectional feedback is baseline in every other online market everywhere. Everywhere. For a reason. This one doesn't have feedback. This is also the foundation of the marketplace that allows 160 million people's access to food, clothing, shelter, and healthcare. It stabilizes all other markets. And it doesn't have feedback. Now let's sit there. If you talk in terms of data, the level of data drift involved in the labor market is profound. Like the only people who don't understand what's going on are the people driving the market, which is so dangerous when it's the economy. Like all the other economies downstream rely on the foundations of a functioning labor market, which relies on a functioning job market. It's not well. This is the way to start. The way to start is realize also that like we need to act, and we need to realize that 1% better than 0 is 100% better. 2% better is another 100%, another 100%, another 100%. We're improving things one at a time at a time. The goal isn't perfection overnight. The goal is improvement. The goal is improvement. The goal is progress, not perfection. The goal is improvement. So anyway, that's the essay, and I hope you consider it. And yeah, stop by the Job Applicant Perspective. DM if you're interested, especially if you're in research or academia. I'm always actively interested to engage. I think this topic is absolutely fascinating. I really like complex dynamic systems and kind of stochastic engagement. It suits me. And if you're in the labor force, a lot of hugs for a Friday night because you deserve it. So much respect for all that you've been through. Thank you.